Can't Stop the Pop. With me, Craig.
And me, Matty.
That was so smooth. So
Wonderful.
Today, this isn't a new season, is it? This is like an end of season 1 retrospective.
Yeah, retrospective. We're going to look back on a few of the songs that we talked about this season and what's happened since we released the episodes. It's been it's been a great season, hasn't it?
It really has. It's been like wild since we first started recording. And it was such an over-exaggeration, probably not been wild. But it's been like, do you remember since we first did our demo episode, which we put out at the end of the season, Atomic Kitten, and I was like, I don't think this is going to work.
I was really confident that it would work. I loved it. And I got a few... I sent it to a few friends that I trust and who've been really supportive through the past sort of 6-7 months. And they all said, they were like, it's really, really good. It's obviously a little bit rough around the edges. But,
just a little bit.
But I actually listened back to the demo and I don't think we've changed very much. The only dramatic difference about that demo episode about Atomic Kitten, I Want Your Love, was the fact that you'd had 1 or 2 bottles of Prosecco, was it?
Like, can I just say, because the twice you've met me and on at least one occasion, I have had an entire bottle of Prosecco to myself. But on that recording, I had a bottle of Prosecco. There's only a mini one, so you get like a glass and a half.
Lies. Absolute lies.
It was so not.
It was a lot more loosey-goosey, let's just say, as an episode. But it was great. I felt like we knew from there that things would work as like kind of going forward. And yeah, it's been really fun. And we're now, at the end of season 1 retrospective, using this new exciting format of video. Hello.
I know. I feel like this is, at the end of Miami 7, but before LA 7, there were the specials in between. I feel like this is one of those specials. It's the spin-off special, which isn't quite as good as the series, but it's just to tide us over, and people are going to listen to it.
I had forgotten that they did like mini movies, didn't they?
We can't trust the kids to wait 4 months for a new series, so every other month we're going to put out a special.
It's mental to me now that we look back on S Club 7, and whatever name iteration they're going by at the time, S Club 3, S Club Party.
So much shade.
But it's just, I see nothing but truth. It's really interesting to me that they were actors. They were actors. They were BBC actors that somehow fell into being a pop group. But it's the whole Miami 7, LA 7 specials. That's a proper throwback. I'm sure we're going to do.
This is our back to the 60s.
Oh my God, it was it. Back to the 60s. I remember seeing that. Oh, me and my brother, we waited. Like the trailer came out. It was like the new Star Wars movie had just come out. It's like S Club 7, back to the 60s. This is going to be amazing. Anyway, we'll do an episode about S Club 7 at some point. Let's just let's do it a little bit. Why don't we do it chronologically? Okay.
Oh, goodness, okay. Through the season, I can't even remember what we did last week, let alone what we did in season 1. You might have to remind me.
It's all good. I think I've got a pretty good memory of what it is, but to go back from the start. Okay, so the first thing we did was an episode like this, actually, which was the It's Time to Begin. Count Me In, which we initially intended to be about 4 to 5 minutes. And I think the initial edit was like 35 minutes that I cut
we
down
had to cut
20.
So much stuff out of that. And we went off on a tangent, as we are prone to do. And I remember afterwards, I texted you, I was like, you cannot put that in the episode because we'll be cancelled before we've even started.
We're going to talk about it actually right now.
I don't think we should.
I've got a lovely vinyl here right behind me. And we were discussing this group, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We were talking about the Sugar Babes, who I adore. They're probably they were probably one of my real teenage pop loves. It was like, for me, it was Girls Aloud and Sugar Babes. And yeah, Craig had a few opinions, but so did I, actually. I don't know what the reason why we spoke about it. If you go back to that episode, we were asking each other questions. And
Yeah.
I think the question was, what's your controversial opinions? And both of us said something about the Sugar Babes. And my controversial opinion was that my actual favorite lineup of the Sugar Babes was 3.0. And that was mostly because of where I was at uni and the time and the nostalgia behind Red Dress and the Greatest Hits and About You Now and Here Come the Girls. And just what the whole podcast has been based around music and what it did for you at that time. And I said that I just loved them as a group so much at that point. But your controversial opinion, what was that?
So I have changed my mind a little bit because
I told you that you would.
So at the time, I was like, I don't think I actually really like the Sugar Babes, but I have written about them on the website since a couple of times, and the more I write about them, the more I really like them. But I remember saying to you, the reason I always struggled with the Sugar Babes is because I always felt like they wouldn't like me very much. And I was just searching. I remember we were texting, and I was just saying I had my perception of the different lineups, and I said Sugar Babes 1.0 wouldn't talk to me at school. They would just ignore me, point blank. Sugar Babes 2.0, they'd probably pick on me. Sugar Babes 3.0, they probably would talk to me civilly, like your favourite lineup. And Sugar Babes 4.0, I probably wouldn't talk to them, if I'm honest. So there was never really a point in the Sugar Babes history of a lineup where I thought, yeah, I really get these girls, and they would really get me.
I think your point that you were making was that you said that you thought they were a bit overrated, and your fact.
Are you trying to get me cancelled?
I'm not. We said we're going to bring it back to this forgotten gem, and you said that you thought they never had 3 songs in a row that were good. You said there was always a dud, and I completely questioned that. Anyway, that was
you
how
can't just drop me in that and then not let me explain.
You can explain.
So are right. So I like a big glossy pop ballad, and that's not what the Sugar Babes did. So Too Lost in You doesn't interest me.
Absolute classic.
Caught in a Moment, not interested.
Stunning.
Just doesn't do anything for me. I'm here for the basic bops and bangers. And the Sugar Babes didn't do enough of those in a row, if I'm honest.
Absolute lies.
Can we cut this out again, please?
No, we're not. This is going in. It's going in. To be fair, just to say, Keisha, Maria, Siobhan, Heidi, Amel, Jade, I love you. You're my babes. Literally. Bum. Right. Okay, so our first actual episode was, unsurprisingly, considering my wonderfully branded t-shirt that I have custom made, which can we just talk about as well, has all of their singles that they did until their last single, Hard to Forget, all of them on. Just like, can we just admire my wonderful back? Can you see that?
I can see that. Yeah. That's an impressive
wonderful
back.
There we go. It was. We did Steps Deeper Shade of Blue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think it was. We discussed what we were going to start with, and I think we were both pretty set on it, weren't we?
Yeah, it was a good place to start. And I think what we learned throughout season 1 is you see almost every pop song through the prism of what it would sound like as a step song. And I do remember one of the things during season 1 I kept having to say to you was, stop saying, I bet that would sound really good as a step song. Stop saying that.
I can't help it. It's also the songs that we picked. We picked a couple that would have legitimately sounded great. Yeah, it was Deeper Shade of Blue, and I made all these wonderful observations about where it fitted in their career, and blah, blah, blah. And all you really had to say was how much that you lusted over Lee's body in the video.
And since then, we've put that episode on TikTok, we've put it on Instagram, and I am certainly not alone of that opinion.
No, you're not. It's actually been the biggest hit that we've got on social media. So check out our TikTok if you want to see a quite popular video about Steps Deep Shaded Blue. Oh, but this episode touches on something that I wanted to do in this retrospective, which was in the past 6-7 months, how long we've been since we've been recording and releasing episodes. A few of the acts that we discussed have had like quite big things happen to them.
Yeah.
I think like it's pretty cool as a fan. I couldn't go, but Steps did Brighton Pride, which is, if anyone doesn't know and doesn't go to many Pride festivals, and considering the fact that most of our fans are probably homosexuals, I imagine that most have been to a Pride festival or two. Brighton's pretty much the biggest one that you can headline as an act, and it's the biggest gig that they ever did.
Is it?
Very, yeah, like in terms of an audience size, Brighton Pride it's like you can Google the capacity of the park, but it's absolutely insane. And I remember the stats for how many people fit in that park. It's just humongous. I'm very grateful whoever was out there that filmed the entire show in a wonderful 4K quality. I sat in my dressing room while I was doing a show over the summer, and I had a little lunch break to myself where I watched the whole show. But yeah, they did absolutely amazingly. And I think it sort of is a real testament to them of how popular they are, because they said they were going to take a big chunk of time off now, which I think is pretty valid. But yeah, that was Steps' news in 2023.
And well, no, not all Steps' news, because also at Cardiff Pride, which I went to the Saturday and not the Sunday. On the Sunday, H and Claire reunited to perform DJ. I can't believe I wasn't there. I can't believe I missed it.
Absolutely iconic. And let's just say there might be just to keep, we might be touching on the H and Claire fiasco iconic
Let's
campaign.
not call it a fiasco.
No,
How many times do I text you and go, I'm listening to H and Claire's album. I think it's really good, actually.
I know. I do think it's really good.
Like every month, at least once a month.
There's so much to dissect on that. So yeah, watch out for season 2. The next episode we did was Aqua, Turn Back Time.
God. That was one of my favourite episodes we recorded, actually. I listened back to it. I remember listening to the episode when it went out, and I thought, yeah, that worked really well. And it was actually, if I do say so myself, quite funny. But I really like the fact that we got to talk about that song. And since we put that episode out, so many people have said, I love that song. It doesn't get enough credit. I'm so glad you talked about that, as opposed to Barbie Girl or Dr. Jones. Yeah, it was probably one of my favourite episodes we recorded.
Me too. I had my best mate who is she's not particularly the biggest like pop geek. We grew up and she was more into, she was more into emo rock and, alternative stuff.
We've all been there. We've all done the Avril Lavigne Sum 41.
I'd love that you went straight for Avril Lavigne. But she said, she was like, oh my God, I love that song. And I'm really glad that listening to the episode, it kind of like brought it back how much I love it. Also, shout out to my friend Gareth. I went into a bar in Soho the other week, and one of the barmen there, I just walked in and he said, oh, guess what I was doing on my day off? He was like, I was listening to your podcast and I've sent it to some friends as well. And he said, the episode about Aqua, who knew that I could learn so much about Aqua?
I love that. I love that
as well.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. I mean, we haven't manifested anything for Aqua to do with a big comeback, but there is always time in 2024, I feel, for an Aqua. The world is just waiting for an Aqua comeback.
I'm pretty sure that this summer Aqua had Aqua were nominated for a Grammy. The fact that because they were featured with Nicki Minaj on a version of Barbie Girl. Like, come
I was
on.
gonna say, no.
No, but I think that's still a pretty big deal, and they still tour and they still
I
perform
know
so
they
much around
do.
the world. But yeah, I think it probably is setting them. Let's manifest it. It's setting themselves up for something new.
Because we have manifested a lot. I'm like jointly taking the responsibility for so much stuff that's happened to some of these acts.
We'll get to them. We'll get to the thing that I know that you're going to talk about. Right. So the next episode was another friend of mine messaged me and he said, "I think the best episode that you've done because you really disagreed on the song and on things was Charlotte Church."
Oh yeah.
I still. I'd love to cover another one of her songs at some point, but I feel like we've covered Charlotte and her pop career within that song quintessentially, and we're talking about the album. And I still stand by Crazy Chick is an absolutely fantastic song, and it is not aged a day. You can say anything about her and about how she was as a pop star and what she thinks of it, but as a song, I think it's amazing.
And I still think she deserved a much bigger moment to launch her solo career. She deserved a Sound of the Underground, a Baby One More Time. She deserved,
but it was big. It got to number 2, and it was like a really big hit.
Yeah, the Fast Food Rockers got to number 2, so let's not.
Can I take your order, please?
Let's not open this wound again. Charlotte, I love you.
As do I.
I quite a few of these episodes. I'm just going through to what was the next one. Quite a few of these to anyone that's listening or watching. Hello, video viewers.
Hi.
Hi. Quite a few of these episodes we spoke about beforehand, and we sort of exchanged stories that we were going to say. And I do think that the best story was, Craig, you fainting at a Backstreet Boys concert when we did an episode about As Long As You Love Me.
What a moment. What a moment in time. I mean, the song, not me fainting, but...
What moment in time, as in...
What a moment in time. That night, I hugged Nick Carter, I met them all, went to the gig, ended up on the floor.
I was just trying to think, moment in time, whose song is that? And then I was half thinking a moment like this, Kelly Clarkson, Leona Lewis, but I was also thinking all this time Michelle McManus, and I was like, these charity winners singles. What was the song? Moment in Time. I said no. Jordan Sparks is One Step at a Time. Who sang
So
the
many
song?
times.
One moment. Obviously Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston.
But
I love that you went to Michelle McManus before you went to Whitney Houston.
Moment in Time. I have never heard that. I've never heard that. But yeah.
Oh, it was Michelle McManus. No, wait, it was that other artist. What was it? Oh, Whitney Houston. Yeah. Oh, she had a couple of hits, I think. Yeah.
She had a minor success. Yeah, I loved As Long As You Love Me. I loved that episode because I feel like that was the first episode where my wonderful phrase appeared that it's definitely going to continue for season 2. There was nothing that icks me off more than an unnecessary dance break. Cue.
Yes, you don't like an unnecessary dance break. And now, it's not something I ever really clocked before, but every time I watch music videos now, I'm like, I think of you. And I think I send you clips sometime. And look at this unnecessary dance break. I was doing Breathe Slow by Alicia Dixon. I was like, look at this. It's a mid-tempo ballad, and she's got high energy choreography like all the way through it.
You've also, but is it Alicia Dixon Breathe Slow? You've also 3 times when I've either had an audition or been stressed about something, you said, it's okay. Just breathe slow. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3. The next episode we did was the legendary one and only Miss Britney Spears with the pregnancy video, Born to Make You Happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting episode, and I still love that the video, and it's still weird to me that people still don't really know that, and people still go, I didn't know she was pregnant at the start of the video and at the end of the video. I think that was probably one of the episodes where we talked about the song. The song's obviously amazing, but we also got to talk about her career a bit, and that whole and it's great when you can talk about an artist and they have such distinct eras of their career, and you can really go into the fact that the Baby One More Time era was maybe a little bit similar to Oops, I Did It Again, but then from there was nothing else like that in her career. It was such a distinct period of her career, and I really loved being able to explore a bit of that.
Me too. I think there's a reason why Britney's been so enduring, and that's another thing this past year. Since we did that episode, the book came out. I hadn't even clocked that we were going to talk about that. She's got The Woman in Me, which honestly, I'm just going to put. Have you read it? Have you listened to the audiobook, or have you read it yet? But you haven't.
I don't read books, and I listen
it's
to.
It's on your shelf behind you.
I know it's really useful for putting my coffee down on. I didn't listen to the audiobook. I've heard. I think, to be honest, the book came out and all the best bits of it were immediately in the news.
No.
So I didn't. Yeah, it's true.
I completely disagree with you. You've got the book there. I'm now not going to rest until I know that you've attempted to read it, or you've at least listened to more of the audiobook. Ladies and gents,
tell me something that was in the book. Tell me something that was in the book that wasn't in the news.
The fact that she was doing an off-Broadway play when she was a little girl, and her and Natalie Portman were understudies for Laura Bell Bundy, who went on to be the original Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. That blew my mind, talking about these little kids and about how she did Broadway, but then she didn't want to do that anymore. She was like, it was too hard. I have so much respect for people that work in theatre. And I was like, oh my God, thanks, Brittany. But I loved it, and I'll be the first person to say, I was talking to a few people at the time who we were all either reading it or we were listening to it. I cried.
Did you?
Yeah, at the end, when she talks about her fans, and she talks about the moment where she's in rehab, that she didn't want to go to rehab. She said there was no immediate reason. It was around the time that she was cancelling her second Vegas residency, and a nurse who really appreciated her pulled her aside and said, I shouldn't be showing you this, but come on the computer. And she basically showed her the Free Britney movement and the marches and people campaigning. And she said, people are doing this for you. We know that you shouldn't be here, but your fans are going to be the one that are going to help you. And then she basically said to anyone reading or listening who posted anything with it, she was like, I saw you and I wouldn't be here without you. And I was like, everyone's had celebrities and pop music, especially, that they've connected to over their life. And I think it's pretty certain that I don't think she's really going to release any music ever again. And she's said many times she doesn't think she's going to. But if that's the end of her career and she's at least happier in a better place, I loved it. And I also loved the fact that she talked about her career in a full circle thing, about how much she adored it at the beginning and how much she had creative control over In the Zone, and then Blackout she was so proud of, but how it took for her to get back to Glory, which she said of all the things that she's done is one of the things she's most proud of. And then she says that, like, if she never records again, she knows at least that her last studio record was something that she is happy that was out there. It was bloody great.
Well, good for Britney.
You're not going to read it. I know you're not. But
I'm not going to read it. And I'm also... Yeah, okay, Glory's the last album, but let's not forget, she's in her last recording, allegedly, is going to be that noise she put out with Will.i.am.
Oh yeah, but that was released. That was recorded years ago. Before that, and I feel like that was put out as a bit of a cheap thing that Will.i.am not taking advantage of it, but she was in the news, and you know, I loved what she did with Elton John. I thought I really liked their remix of "Hold Me Closer." I was really glad that that was like quite a big hit this past year. Anyway, Brittany, we love you. Born to Me Happy was amazing. Now we get on to one of the most unexpected things that happened this year. So we did an episode about the legendary Sophie Ellis-Bextor, I Won't Change You, which was your favourite Sophie song? Is it still?
I don't know if it's... I might have said it's my favourite. I don't know that it's my favourite, but this is probably my favourite example of us absolutely striking in the wrong place at the right time.
At the wrong place at the right time. The fact that we released this episode, and obviously we love Sophie Ellis-Bextor, and she has always had a die-hard sort of fan base. I've seen her live quite a few times. The last time I saw her was supporting Steps at the What the Future Holds tour. But who'd have thought that we did a song which we basically spoke about how the song and the video was trying to recreate Murder on the Dance Floor.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
A lesser effect because of the unnecessary dance break. This is probably the most unnecessary out of the whole season, where the camera goes through the drink.
The
cocktail.
Oh, wonderful.
And you just doing the impressions of her in the change room. And I won't change you.
Oh, yeah.
But who'd have thought, like, what's happened to Sophie Ellis-Bextor since is amazing.
Yeah, that is... So I'm very critical of streaming and downloads in terms of the fact that I have this whole thing that I don't see how you can equate streaming and sales, and that's a whole other discussion. But I love the fact that a song like Murder on the Dance Floor has been able to have a resurgence, and it's charting in America for the first time. And yeah, that's just mad. And you know, okay, we picked the wrong song to talk about, but maybe someone listened to that episode and was like, well, they've said that this is trying to recreate Murder on the Dance Floor, so we'll go back and we'll pick Murder on the Dance Floor because it's clearly superior. Maybe that's what happened with Saltburn.
For anyone that doesn't know the context or is listening to this episode back in years to come, the movie Saltburn has just come out, which I haven't seen, but you can't escape the viral clips that are going around about it. And this song is just massive. Yeah. I had a friend message me the other day saying, you're the guy who will know this, but is there an orchestral or big band arrangement of Murder on the Dance Floor? And can I get the music? And I thought, I was like, yeah, there is, because she did the Song Diaries album. Yeah, of course she did, yeah. And she did both an orchestral and a disco version of it. And it's a really, really beautiful arrangement. But
I didn't watch Saltburn. I flicked through it, but obviously, again, I've seen all the viral clips. And I don't think it was that extreme. I'm not going to put any spoilers, but, I see comments about people drinking bathwater. I'm like, I swim in a public pool once a week. It's nothing new to me.
I haven't seen the movie, and I don't know if it interests me. But what I find really fascinating is the fact that, as you say about streaming, and I'm not critical of streaming. I love Spotify and Apple Music, and I love the fact that I consume so much music and so much more music, and it's so much easier for people to recommend things to me, and it gets me into good habits of listening and rediscovering songs on the go, particularly. But I have been very critical about social media and TikTok, and how, not in that it's a bad platform, but in that how it's got a real monopoly on what is successful and what is not. But twice over the last year, it has worked phenomenally in, some of our favorite artists' favor. You've obviously got Sophie Ellis-Bextor having this humongous hit again. It got to number 2 in the UK again.
Yeah, it's been twice, like literally twice. 20 years apart.
It unbelievable.
Was number 2 again, yeah.
And it's been a hit in America. As you said, she was in Times Square on a billboard for Spotify and streaming. And I just love it. I think I tweeted something about it saying that like she'd said like, oh, loving the success, this blah 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 blah. And I was like, if I was her management and her A&R department, I would be getting it in the studio now.
I saw that.
I was
like, great. Sophie, you're doing great. But listen, here's my advice.
Babe, like,
get yourself in the studio and record a new
album.
Record
a disco album and get yourself an arena-level show. But, I mean, but the other song that I was going to say that benefited so amazingly from social media in an international way this year was, who'd have thought that Kylie would have such a massive hit again? Like, I don't think we can really underestimate. Over the summer when we were starting the recording this was when I caught the pandemic began, and we didn't cover a Kylie or a Danny song in season 1.
We did not.
We quite specifically said we didn't want to. Whether we break that thing for season 2, you have to wait and see. But I think it's a really interesting time, and I love seeing what I call essentially all the acts that we would cover release records these days. They're all Radio 2 acts now. None of them are being played on Radio 1 or Capital. But it's lovely to see them have viral success and big hits again. And I think it's made all of the marketing teams for these people really sit up and go, we can't promote songs in the same way that we would have done 20 years anymore. Like, that model doesn't exist. And I think this current model is still going to take a couple of years to settle. But yeah, who'd have thought Murder on the Dance Floor would be a massive hit again?
There we go. I love that you were like, I don't like TikTok, but also follow us on TikTok, please.
Well, I was very cynical about the platform. And then now I don't know if I've seen the light, really. I feel like it's just such a great promotional tool. And it's also really great for people to post music that they like and nostalgia. Yeah. So it's funny, we do a podcast about like 90s and noughties nostalgia when truly like that era of music it doesn't exist anymore, but there's a real love for it.
Oh, so much love.
Right, the next thing we did was When You're Looking Like That, Westlife.
Yeah, you know, I think there were no episodes that I didn't enjoy, and I think we both love that song so much. But I think one of the things that we learned about season 1 is when you both love a song, there's not a lot to talk about.
We just gushed. We were like, best Westlife song. Great, done.
Yeah. So what should we do for the next 20 minutes? Let's just say the same thing again and again and again. So, yeah, that episode, great song. Love that song. Their best song by a country mile. But that episode, well, we struggled to fill that, didn't we? Even with our ability to just talk nonsense, we struggled to fill that episode.
I think we did, but at the same time, I'm glad we did it because I really love Westlife and I really like a lot of their back catalogue. I think we talked more about them in their back catalogue, and that's how we spoke about it. Also, not me misinterpreting the video that Nikki kissed a fan and she's like an 80-year-old woman. Just see if you go back in the episode, I say like, Nikki's just the cheeky one, you know, he's doing up his fly and, you know, he goes forward and he kisses a fan and there was obviously teenage me being like, Nikki. But you text me and you said, Matt, I've just rewatched the video. The fan that he kisses is like 85. It's like your grandma.
I was like, this woman is either the oldest woman alive now or she's not here anymore. He was literally probably one of her highlights of her later life, and you just slated him on a podcast for doing that.
Nikki, if you're out there, I'm sorry, mate. Right. We talked about us. That was an episode where we both loved the song. I think next to Charlotte Church, the most we've ever had to discuss about someone's career and where it fit in was I loved doing our hearsay episodes.
Yeah, that. So we did "Loving Is Easy," and that song. There's so much to talk about, and it was really such a fascinating time. I still think, even now, I look back, and I think, God, we were not we personally. I hope I wasn't, but people were really horrible to pop stars.
Well, we did the first season. We did two acts from reality shows, right? Am I right? Yeah, we did two acts from reality shows. We did both from pop stars. We did pop
Yeah,
stars and pop stars arrivals. So just so that people don't think we're not going to be doing chronological seasons. So we're not then going to move to Steve Brookstein from X Factor 1 or G4. But yeah, Hearsay, my God, just what a mess. Like, you just
yeah,
feel for all of them so much because it was just that era of bad publicity and just bad management. And it didn't really matter at that point if the song was any good. They were just doomed to fail. And I think what's sad is that I do think the song was good. I think it's really slick.
yeah. I think the song's good. I think it's just a shame. I think we take for granted, and I'm not saying that things are perfect now, but we take for granted now how much more concern is shown for people. It's not perfect, but back then there were no boundaries. There were absolutely. It was like, you've been on TV, you put yourself out there, therefore you are ours, and we can treat you and do with you exactly what we please. And if I had one hope for the podcast at some point, I would love to speak to a member of Hearsay about what that was like, because I don't think there are many other acts who have experienced what they experienced, not just in
Absolutely
this
not.
country, on an international level. I think they experienced that probably more acutely than most other acts ever have. I'd love to speak to one of them about it.
Well, you're going to talk about groups from reality shows and how over the course of the decade it really shifted. So obviously Hearsay were the first, like the last group within our sort of time frame of things that we talk about were probably Little Mix in terms of coming from a
Yeah.
reality show. And by that point, you've got to hope that management and audiences and people's perception of that was changed dramatically, and they were treated so much better. Obviously there's still problems and things like that, but you can see such a leap. Going to the next episode that we did, it's a nice segue. You can see such a leap from in 2 years from the way that Hearsay were treated to the way that Girls Aloud were treated. Like, they were on TV a lot, and they were but the difference with Girls Aloud was they were very famously just so unfiltered. They were just allowed to do whatever. I mean, we did Sexy No No No. But if you go back to like the original few years of Girls Aloud, like that 2 or 3 years where they were doing all those documentaries and traveling the world, and all these clips have resurfaced recently, and I just love them because they're so unfiltered. Girls Next Door, Cheryl just going off about being in high heels and trudging through the mountains and swearing, and I feel like they were just allowed to be themselves, and they were
Well,
also allowed. They were
I think
allowed to make mistakes.
they had to be, because if you read about their early career, obviously they were supposed to be managed by Louis Walsh, and he wasn't interested in them because
No,
they were women, and I think in some respects they had to take charge, and in the end they were allowed to set the rules, I guess, to some extent, because they didn't have someone watching over them as they would have done probably earlier, and also if they were a different type of group. I think they were expected, probably. I don't think anyone probably really expected Girls Aloud to turn out the way they did. I bet they probably hoped for a decent first album, probably try and run it into a second album, but I don't think anyone expected Girls Aloud to become what
the
Girls
pop
Aloud became.
titans. Like,
But, it was, but 2023 was a quiet year for Girls Aloud. Not much happened, so...
So to put it in context, ladies and gents, the week that this is by complete coincidence.
No, we made this happen.
We manifested it. We did Sexy No No No. We recorded it back in, I want to say, July, something like that. And we put it out there in November. I can't remember when the announcement was, but the week that we were going to be releasing Girls Aloud, we got a sniff online that there was a reunion happening, which had been rumored for a bit, but I don't think anyone actually thought it was going to happen because, famously, they've not gotten on over the years. But I think it's safe to say, R.I.P. Sarah, that I feel like her death has rallied them together, which is both an awful but also a beautiful thing. And they announced this big comeback the week that our episode was debuting. So I think you put the caption as, "Did we plan it? No, no, no."
But, yeah, you're right. The timing was completely random, but that happened. And you're right. I love that they're doing it. And I think, if Sarah was still here, I don't think it would be happening. I think what happened has given them cause to actually appreciate the fans and show some love back to the fans. I'm not saying they never appreciated it, but I definitely think it was actually, life's too short, we need to do this. And by that measure, all the other groups that are about and not getting back together, oh, sorry, you're going to have to beat that out. Like the Saturdays, come on, girls, just get yourselves back in the studio, record a couple of songs, and get yourselves out on tour, because you never know what's going to happen in life. Come on.
I love Saturdays.
Yeah, but what, come on, where are they? What are they doing?
I know. Rochelle's got a really big TV career.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't do the Saturdays because I've got to do 3 mornings a week on This Morning.
So with Girls Aloud, I agree that I don't think it would have been a tour at this level. They've said that Nadine has said many times in many interviews. So we're just kind of talking about Sarah here, but Nadine said many times in interviews that she didn't think, she was in denial. She didn't think Sarah was going to pass. So she said, I was literally on her deathbed going, come on, girl, you're going to be fine. We're getting back together for a 20th anniversary next year. And she has said that she was using that as a denial mechanism, but there was something in place. But I don't think it was anywhere near the scale of the sold out multiple, I think they're doing 5 or 6 dates at the O2, which is, for a group these days, that's unheard of. And I think that shows the sheer popularity that they've got and the nostalgia for it. And also the love. I think that there was a bit of a, not a worry, but some people thought they might release new music. And they've said many times they don't want to release new music because they don't want to tarnish their discography. And it doesn't feel right without Sarah. But this was a celebration. So...
Definitely. Yeah. I think no new music. I think I said to you, I don't want new music. They don't need new music. I know that Xenomania still exists, but Xenomania is a very different team to the one that worked with Girls Aloud back in the day. So I think they've done the right thing. A tour, no new music, celebrate Girls Aloud for what they were, celebrate Sarah, and just enjoy that moment. I can't wait to see them.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm going to be insufferable online a week or so before to anyone who follows me. Right, so we're getting towards the end of the season. We had 3 more episodes. Now, we've now hit the episode which I actually loved doing, and I loved how it turned out because it was really funny. But it was so left field that I think it went over some people's heads. And there was a couple of online arguments about this, wasn't there, Craig? About the Power Rangers theme tune.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick a song for my choice. It was my choice. I hold my hands up. I misjudged the appeal of the song. I misjudged the appeal of the Power Rangers. I'm not saying they don't have fans, but it was a really fun episode to record, and I edited it. I edited it to within an inch of its life. But yeah, it didn't land, I think, and it did cause some arguments online. So if there's one
People
episode
saying
of
that
the
our
season
facts-
that was probably our facts were wrong. Our facts were not wrong. Our facts are never wrong. But yeah, that episode was our I Want to Have Your Babies. You know, that was our Beautiful Because You Love Me.
I really think
that was...
you give it a bad rep. You give it a really bad rep, and I don't think it was bad at all. I just feel like it was intentionally a left field choice. A couple of people didn't like it, but I thought it was fun to do, and I loved all of the little Rita Repulsa sound effects that you put in the episode.
I mean, that's literally... I just wanted to do an episode with Rita Repulsa. I didn't really care about the song. I just wanted an episode to celebrate the icon that is Rita Repulsa.
The Power Rangers! But we went on to my choice, which involved the most long-winded segment, but I'm really glad that I managed to edit it down and make it funny. We did the absolutely brilliant Gotta Tell You by Samantha Mumba. And you know what? I loved doing this episode because I still stand by that she is one of the forgotten pop star gems of the 2000s. People go like, oh yeah, I like Samantha Mumba. And I'm like, have you listened to her songs lately? Lately. That was a nice segue. But like, every one of her singles was top tier. And she had this short-lived but really great run of songs. And this video, oh God, it's so funny. It's just so unnecessary in many ways.
The episode was a lot of fun to record. And I really enjoyed looking back on her career. It was... You're right. She had such a weird career. And it just stopped. I know that there are a lot of stars that had really big first albums and then their second album wasn't as successful. But she didn't really have that. She had the first album, really successful. One song from the second album, and then it just all stopped.
It's from that era, and we're going to cover a couple of other artists like that in the future, which I feel like turn of the millennium going into the early 2000s, there was just a real shift in the industry, and a lot of acts weren't given a chance to even release albums, and then they were just dropped, and you just left out in the wilderness. And I will say that is the advantage of the music industry these days, in that it's just so much more accessible for artists, if they don't work out with a label, to just release independently. You can release independently so much easier, and there's a hell of a lot of big artists that are now choosing to go independent. I use Jessie J as an example. In the last year, she said that the industry has changed and the model doesn't work for her. And I feel like if there was Samantha Mumba had been releasing records today, she'd have, she'd have started her career today, it would be a very different story.
Yeah. No, I think we'll definitely talk about that in the next season, but it is fascinating. I think the more we talk about it, the more research we do about how so many labels were acquired by... So you're like Samantha Mumba was a big artist on her label, but then that label gets acquired by an even bigger label, and she's suddenly a very small artist on a massive label. And that happened so many times in the late 90s, early noughties to a lot of acts. Like Mystique were another one that their label went insolvent, but their material ended up on another label, and it just, there was no priority for them to do anything with it because they were now this small act on a massive label.
I'm pretty sure it happened to like the Honeys. I'm pretty sure it happened to... It also famously happened to Victoria Beckham, where a label just like...
I mean, she brought down an entire record label by herself.
But which is absolutely mind blowing when you think about it in nowadays, because that would just never happen. You just would never. And if it did, there'd always be an option to still release more music independently. It brings us to the final episode of the season, which was quite honestly, I knew that we'd get a good reaction to it. I didn't think it would be as big as it was. You were so on the money to base the whole podcast around Christmas and doing Kate Winslet. What if?
Didn't base the whole podcast
The whole
around it,
podcast.
but the whole podcast for Kate Winslet's What If. My favorite. I mean, we reached out to a lot of people to appear on the podcast, and fair play to Kate Winslet, she wasn't coming anywhere near the podcast, but at least her agent did send a polite rejection letter, the only one. All the other stars we reached out to just blanked us, but Kate Winslet at least had the decency to turn us down.
Where is this? Why is the letter not on your wonderful placard wall behind you?
Oh, it should be, shouldn't it? I printed that out and everything. I was like, I'm going to read it out. I'm going to read out this letter. I really want to get in touch with the agent and just
send to the episode.
Like, I've just
you send to the episode.
This is the episode. This is the episode Kate Winslet could have appeared on. Do you remember I said to you when we got the rejection letter back? I said, should we invite the agent on instead? You were like, do not do that.
Well, it's funny you mention that because here is Kate Winslet. No, I'm joking. So we've got a few. We're not going to announce them now, but we have some exciting teasers and news in that we have some interviews for season 2, which is coming up later on this year.
Yeah.
So we did actually get responses back from people. It wasn't Kate Winslet.
We did. Not yet. No.
No. We're going to hold off for her second single. Oh, no, wait, sorry, there never was one. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. Going into this next season, I feel like we've had a lot of fun. We've gotten to know each other really, really well, and we've just bounced off each other with the songs that we've picked. Whereas now it's time to up it a little bit to the next level. And I'm really excited for the things that we've got planned, the songs that we're going to choose. And yeah, hopefully we're reaching even bigger audience.
Yeah, we know what works now. We know what doesn't. Power Rangers. And we can just make season 2, bigger, better. It's going to be good.
I think it'd just be nice also to think that we're a very small, independent little podcast, just the two of us. And we're obviously not making any money out of this. But it's been absolutely lovely, the feedback that we've had from people. And has had some really lovely messages. People that I know really well, people that I don't know very well, just coming up to me in person or messaging me online and saying how much they love the episodes. And I think the proof's in the pudding, in that we won't delve into the stats too much, but we've had a hell of a lot of listeners, and we've had some real big spikes with certain episodes. And even in the past month or so, where we haven't been releasing new episodes, we've still had consistent listeners, which is just really flattering. So thank you to anyone that's listened. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my mum still hasn't listened. She keeps telling me she is going to listen, but she still hasn't. So there's at least one more hit to come for season 1.
My other half hasn't listened either. He said, I listen to you talk about pop music all the time, and you've got you somewhere to vent it to now. But he did say he's currently working away on a cruise ship, and he has downloaded all of the episodes in order to listen to them in a chunk. Hopefully he'll be reminded of my dulcet tones. I think we should wrap it up, because this lovely little 35-minute episode is now an hour.
Shocked.
Right.
So, if you want to, it doesn't really work, but I'm gonna have to promote my website. Sorry, but Can't Stop the Pop does have a website, can'tstopthepop.com, where there are over 400 reviews. And you can find it at can'tstopthepop.com. We're also on social media. I am at Can't Stop Pop on X and can't stop _the pop on Instagram.
And I am Matkins Actor on X and Matt_Atkins9 on Instagram. And we are now on TikTok at Can't Stop the Pop Podcast. So please give us a follow on there, add us to your story, give us a little reshare, because it's been really exciting to share clips from the podcast. Do get in touch. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Give us any suggestions of what you think we might cover. And please leave us a review, but only a good one wherever you get your podcasts from.
Have we had any reviews yet?
I think so.
Have we? Thank you if you have.
We've had verbal reviews, but we've had a hell of a lot of comments on social media. I mean, a lot of comments on social media. And we have got a couple of ratings, quite a few ratings on Spotify and Apple, but keep them coming.
Love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and join us next season for more
Can't stop the pop.